Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk animated shows and movies here, especially Miraculous Ladybug and the Owl House. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. I'm your host, Dylan Hysen, and today I am joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
Delaney and I will be getting into Season 3 of Hilda, the final season of the great Hilda. Very sad. We'll be talking about everything from Season 3 of Hilda and soon getting into spoilers. I don't think we're going to have a spoiler-free section because it's Season 3 after 2 seasons and a movie of the show, and we would highly recommend Hilda if you have not watched it before. We have done podcasts on Seasons 1, 2, and the movie, so you can find those at overlyanimated.com. But yeah, we definitely recommend checking out Hilda if you have not, and if you've not seen all of Season 3 yet, you can pause and finish watching the season, which is 8 episodes, but the last episode's like a movie, basically. And then come back and listen to our discussion. So getting into spoilers for Season 3 of Hilda, potentially starting now. Delaney, how does it feel for Hilda to be done? As it sunk in, but more importantly, what did you think of Season 3?
I'm sad. I really like Hilda. Let shows have more than 3 seasons.
It's weird that it feels like a lot that we got 3 seasons of Hilda in the movie.
It does. Yeah, no, I mean, we got 3 seasons in a movie. That's a lot. But it still makes me sad because Hilda's great. And Hilda definitely feels like one of those shows that could go on for forever if it wanted to.
Yeah, interesting. We'll talk, because it is an adaptation, and we'll talk about that kind of aspect of it. But yeah, what did you think of the season?
I really enjoyed it. Hilda is always something that I find easy to watch, which, as someone who doesn't really like binge watching shows, is something I appreciate. And this is a show my wife also enjoys, so she sits and watches it with me, and she does not like binge watching, like, at all. Zero. She has ADHD, cannot. She's like, nope, can't do it.
How much did you guys binge this season?
So we binged, I believe, I can't remember if we watched the first 4 episodes or the first 3 episodes, and then we finished the next day. So, I mean, big chunks, honestly.
Very fast, yeah.
Yeah, no, we watched all of it. And, we really enjoyed it. Especially from going from 7 into 8. It was kind of late, and I was like, do you want to go into bed? She's like, what? What? She's like, I want to know what happened. Shut up.
The last one's so long, though.
Because I knew it was going to be long, but she didn't. And then she was like, I hate you. But then we watched it. It was great. I will say it is really long at the end, but you don't notice, I don't think.
Nice. Yeah.
But no, really loved it. My wife loved it. I did also, I also watched The Mountain King right before we started Season 3. I had not watched the movie. The movie's great also. Everything flows really well. I am glad I watched the movie when I did, because like they do talk about it.
Yes, referenced. Although the trolls are not super relevant this season.
Sad. Wanted more trolls. But to be fair, they got a whole movie. And also they were a big focus of Season 2, so...
Since you watched the Mountain King movie recently, what's the better movie length thing? The finale or the Mountain King?
That's tough. I mean, for me, I really liked the finale, but I mean, I would say the Mountain King. The movie's really good. Interesting.
Nice. I think probably from my memory would agree, but it's been a little bit since watching
I think it's also the movie, if we're going to talk about movie length, I mean, it really is. It's very much a season finale, and that is something I think that's special about this season is how like they have threaded a lot, excuse me, through this season that I don't think like season 1 definitely wasn't as threaded.
Yeah, as serialized potentially.
Yes.
Yeah, that is interesting. We'll talk about how this season was different. I also really liked Season 3 of Hilda. I think just watching it's starting. It's been so long, beginning of last year from the last one. And even longer for Season 2. Watching it, it's just like, this is like the best show. I mean, not like really, literally the best show, maybe. I don't know, but it kind of is. It's so good and beautiful in ways that basically no other show is. It's
just nice.
It's so easy to watch and pleasant and gorgeous. And so I
Yes.
think in that regard, it was another great season of Hilda.
No, that's
Um,
what I really like about it, is like the easy to watch. Like Ladybug stresses me out.
yeah.
I really appreciate a show that doesn't stress me out. I mean, I was, we were ready for the last episode. We were like, what's going to happen? What's going on? The spider frog was scary, but
Yeah, there's a little bit more intensity, I guess, from specifically those moments that you mentioned this season. But it's just there's we've had a few like great kind of like cozy, comfy shows is what I'd categorize it. But I think few are as kind of magical as Hilda feels.
yes,
It's like
yes.
comfy and magical and just the most gorgeous, which is all kind of interconnected there. But yeah, season 3, I thought it was great. I think the show there's definitely a lot that was not covered this season, but that was previously covered in other seasons. But there's a lot that I felt like we needed to get into more. And I thought I was satisfied. Specifically, wafts. I think we'd commented before. They're just there in the background. Let's do more with wafts in the season premiere right away. We're doing some waft stuff.
They're like, here's a baby.
That's what I needed. I brought out my waft plush, by the way, for this, which I forgot I had. So I got it.
So Tanya made her own.
Yeah, I remember that.
We have a very hefty waft. If she threw it at me, I would die. But he's a beautiful creature.
They're a very beautiful creature. So I got this waft and I got twig. Got a little bit more twig.
Tanya immediately, she's like, I'm going to make a twig.
Yes, absolutely must. Other more Hilda's family. Yeah, I mean, it's like the Hilda's family season. I think that I don't know if we needed to, but we would have needed to get more Joanna. And this was big Joanna season.
Oh, big Joanna season. Always love me some Joanna. Joanna's like maybe the best TV mom.
Maybe, honestly, she's fantastic. Like that biggest winner, like Joanna the character, I think, from this season.
She's so good. I also like, it's really funny, growing up watching shows and then now like as an adult, and then Hilda's like, we should do this. And I'm like, listen to your mom, please. Oh my God.
You're not like, let's go on the adventure?
Please go listen. Please go ask your mom.
You're old now.
Go tell your mom. Like, I'm like, you're stressing me out.
No, listen to Joanna, though, I agree.
Listen to Joanna. Your mom's really cool. Like, you're being a butthead.
And then we get to see when she gets in adventure mode, and that's pretty great.
Yes.
Other stuff that I wanted to see followed up. Giants. I love the Giants. My original love from Hilda, I think, honestly. And I love that episode. Hilda's dad didn't know we'd be getting into that, but I thought that was really interesting.
I was not ready. I was like, who, what?
More from the Sparrow Scouts a little bit. I appreciated.
I was waiting. I was like, where are they? The whole time I was like, give it to me.
And I guess Hilda Origins, again, I didn't know that this was a thing we needed and would be getting, but I thought it was really interesting. I guess Origins of like magic. I thought it was I guess that's my biggest take about, two biggest takes about like the season overall, but the finale, it's like, I like that we kind of get the thematic, at least not a lot of specifics necessarily, just because it's not like a super plot heavy show. We don't need to get into every detail, but at least it's like, this is where all the magic comes from, kind of like the silence. It's like the origins of the magic of all the creatures that we're seeing, the origins of Hilda. It just feels very thematic. It feels like it ties everything in a bow to a certain extent. It's not like every single detail, but it just feels like we're getting kind of closure from learning a little bit about where everything comes from at the end, and I really enjoyed that.
I will say this is what Tanya wanted. So Tanya watches shows, and what she cares about is, why is Kipo purple? Why is Hilda's hair blue? And Tanya, she got her answer in Kipo, and she got her answer in Hilda, so she's happy.
Yes, I think it's a good comparison to Kipo, because I think that show is like always going to give us answers to that question and like why everything was happening. It's a more plot heavy show and stuff.
Yes.
I didn't know Hilda would be telling us why Hilda's hair is blue and why she has a connection to so much magical stuff. Like, it could have just been like it is. It didn't need to be answered.
No. Though I did need to know. We were like, Joanna, what have you seen? What is your trauma, Joanna?
Yeah.
Like, it
And
kept getting
she didn't even
worse.
know her trauma,
I know,
apparently.
like,
Yeah. So you're right. So it's like we didn't need to get into it, but it felt like a nice way to end it. Like,
yes.
like just like I said, like a nice kind of thematic, emotional way to end it, just tying it in a bow in that regard. Another thing I really liked, like you mentioned, the more serialization this season, and I think it wasn't heavily serialized, but
No.
there was like some light elements, and the biggest element was we see these kind of shadowy figures the entire time as like a threat, and compared to previous seasons, we get this like looming villainous presence that we don't really see
Yes.
in
Also, it
past
was
seasons.
wild. Like, I don't know which episode it was, but I was like, oh my God, is it her grandparents? And I was like, that's a crazy thought. And then it was.
What do you mean? How could you have had that thought before the finale?
I think it was before the finale. It was,
Skeptical.
no, it
What do you mean?
was.
Was it her grandparents? What prompted you to think that? Maybe I missed some foreshadowing.
Well, I think they had said something about her parents had run off, or
Okay, yeah.
so that it was a crazy thought, and then it happened though. So I was like, oh,
No,
all right,
okay, I take it back. You're right. They did seed that in a little bit earlier in the season.
yeah,
That's a. No, I didn't think that at all. That's a great call. But I guess what I like about it is it seems like this is going to be like, oh, these are these evil fairies. These are,
no,
and like, so Hilda's version of this like looming built up villainous threat is actually it was her grandparents lovingly watching her the entire season
but being really creepy about it.
in a creepy way, but it was very wholesome
Yes,
resolution to this looming
yes,
villainous threat. I loved that
yes.
for this show, honestly.
Also,
That
the finale. Like, I don't know if we want to get right into it, but like,
What do you mean the finale?
I mean, like right at the end where you're like, oh my God, Joanna's dead, and then. And then you're like, yay, Joanna's not dead. And then you're like, no, Aunt Astrid's
Yeah.
dead. And then no one's dead.
And then actually no one's dead except
Which is great.
what's
Everything
her
she
name's
did,
just in the fairy aisle
which no one
forever.
cares about her, so it's fine.
Yeah, I gotta say I didn't really care about her,
No.
unfortunately.
Well, she's a villain from the first season. Like, who cares about her? Nobody.
I will say as a preface to this discussion, I must admit that I remember very little specifics from the first two seasons of Hilda, unfortunately. As much as I love the show and we literally did a podcast on each of these two seasons, I did not remember the librarian's name. Do you remember the librarian? They don't say it this season.
Nope, I have no idea what her name is.
Wow, you remember way more stuff than me.
Nope.
Kaisa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I remember. So stuff came back to me as I was watching.
It like feels familiar, I think, yeah. Victoria,
But
she was in season 2 as well, apparently, which I like vaguely recalled, but I just I think she's supposed to be like a morally gray kind of villain type thing,
yeah.
but I just didn't have that recollection to have
I
feelings
just remember
about
she was
that.
the crazy weather lady, which I think that's really all you need to remember about her.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, and then so we're watching, and the bird at the end.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, I vaguely remember him.
Yeah, I was, and Tany's like, what did she do for him? I'm like, I don't remember. I'm like, she helped him somehow. That's all I remember.
I remember him being like kind of a main character for a little bit in season 1, but maybe that's not true. I don't know.
No, he kind of no. Well, that's because that was like the focus. It was like I think he had.
He was just the focus of that first arc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Hilda's based off of graphic novels, and the season adapts multiple of them in a season, so it has these arcs based. Yeah. So, yeah. Which notably, we could start talking about this now. I alluded to this. This season, I don't know if you know, Delaney, the first part of Hilda that is not based off of graphic novels. They ran out of source material for this season. So this is a wholly original season.
That's really cool that they did that.
And then I believe they have adapted this now into the final graphic novels, or I don't know, maybe, or
oh, interesting.
So like there are ones that contain this, but I'm pretty sure the show is first. Like
it's like an anime.
Yes, it's like Game of Thrones.
Yes, LOL Game of Thrones.
Except this was a good season, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so that's we talked about. I remember we talked about this on the season 2 podcast, which is like, there's some episodes of Hilda which were original stories, but for the most part, it was adaptations of the books, right?
Well,
So
now I need to read the books.
I know, well, yeah, they're probably great. But we like the original stories, and it's like, okay, what could Hilda do? I'm pretty sure we asked this question in the season 2 podcast. What Hilda's gonna have a season 3 that's all original? Wow, like what could it do? Like it could be so different. It could be so interesting. So I guess that's a big discussion topic. Is like, what was this season of original stories like? And I guess for the first thing that I would say is like it wasn't as different as you might think.
No, it really
Because
like
you
can't. I would say it's
you might
seamless.
not have noticed, right, that it was
Yeah.
not based off anything. Yeah. So could you tell at all after like thinking about it now? Can you see any difference, Delaney?
No, I would say not. I mean, I guess the only thing would be the only thing I'm not satisfied with is, to me, the Ferret Island is kind of like why is it dying? Should we do something about that? Like,
There's definitely a lot about fairies in the fairy island that was not delved into in a deep manner, in a large manner. Yeah, no,
which is fine. Like, it's not like the worst thing ever. They introduced it this season, and then we'll never see it again. That's fine. But that was my one complaint. Just because we got to go back, we learned more about the wasps and that kind of stuff, but we didn't. We learned about fairies, and then we're like, nope, that's it.
yeah. It's interesting that that's your answer to this question, because to me they're kind of separate things, but I can see how it might be like maybe if there was more more substance behind it, there would be more to kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going for like a natural order thing on the fairy island, like things just come and go. Like this is just kind of how it is.
That's fair.
I definitely did feel like we could have gotten a lot more from the fairy isle, fairy country, what they call it, multiple things,
Yeah.
I think we could have gotten a lot more details. We could have gotten more on like the spirit of the island, more about the other fairies there, more details on the fact that it's the origins of all these magical creatures. I kind of wanted more on that.
I do think not. I don't want to say it was a mistake. I think it's interesting to take this concept of we're out of material. We're going to do what we want, and we're going to explore these things that are not explored in the graphic novel. And so what we do is we explore Hilda's family, which I think, that's great. You should do that. That's really interesting. I do think Anders was kind of a little bit of a waste of time.
We'll talk about Anders.
Then that, like, if we could, like, I'm like, I don't care about Anders, but then like we can, maybe then we could have had a little bit more time with the fairies or learning more.
Okay. Yeah. So you're comparing the Hilda's family stuff to the fairy stuff. I feel like the show just didn't want to get into too many specifics. I feel like this isn't a specific show.
It really isn't. Like, they're like, it's also hard though too, because like we get kind of the whole origin of the trolls in the movie.
Yes, and that is why I think many would say the movie is more satisfying. Because it does feel like a really complete view of the trolls. It really does. And I just think the movie had the whole kind of gaining empathy for people that are othered theme, which was so incredible. And I'm not sure what the big thematic resonance of the fairy stuff is, other than how it personally relates to Hilda.
Well, it makes me wonder if, like, if Luke Pearson has known this whole time.
It was a plan from the beginning that Hilda's a fairy. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because that's my question. I'm like, if that, that's cool if it is. Like, was that always the plan, or was this something that you like figured out for season 3?
I suspect it was the plan. I think you probably don't make that up just for the last.
That's fair.
Maybe the whole fairy isle intricate mythology type of thing, maybe there's a vague notion of like fairies are from like all Hilda's a fairy and that's the origin of the magical creatures. Like, I feel like you have that probably, and then you expand upon it. But I agree, you can walk away from the season thinking that it was like pulled out at the end. That is like a perfectly reasonable kind of thing someone could walk away, and that could be an issue, Yeah.
I do appreciate like the stuff like for how it relates to Hilda. and when you talk about like the resonance and like, because I was like, what's the lesson here? And really, it's like, what did Hilda learn on this adventure? And I think, it's like you can't like Hilda she tends to get out of stuff, like it's like Steven. Like, what is Steven Universe gonna say to make this person stop being evil? And Hilda kind of does something very similar. How can she bridge the gap? She can't here. She never actually gets to speak to.
Yeah, it is interesting that it's on the island spirit or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think there's, Hilda wouldn't have won. So so I think that was interesting that, there's some magic you don't like, Hilda. I don't know. Like, I think that was interesting because you kind of have to do that, like in a show like this.
Yeah, it's a good point that Hilda did. That's not like a traditionally presented villain, the island spirit,
right? And then kind of showing to the like, generally speaking, like all of the creatures are pretty chill, and it's usually the human's fault.
Yeah,
but this time, and I think they foreshadow it a little bit with the giants. Like we're gonna leave anyway, but it's more.
Yeah, are you saying that one of the big themes of the season is some things just can't be neatly resolved?
Kind of, or that like there are some problems Hilda can't fix.
Yeah.
And that it takes more, and in this case, it's more don't make deals with like malevolent creatures, like, and kind of this. I mean, there's kind of this generational trauma because of the fairies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the show does kind of get into generational trauma in the finale, which is a fun topic, a heavy topic that other shows have gotten into. It's interesting that Hilda would do that, but when we're talking about Hilda's family, but yeah, I like that it's interesting about the fairy island and how that's presented, and everything, and Hilda being a fairy. Yeah, I don't know. It just all feels like interesting. For the most part, I would say the reaction watching the finale is just like, this is like an interesting story, like, yeah. I don't know if I had any like deep moment connection with like this has some like larger meaning. I guess
for me it was more, I wanted more of why is the island dying, which I think that's a symptom of watching shows like this.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to get into more. I think there's a bunch of things that could be...
Like, you would expect Hilda to want to fix the island.
Yeah, maybe you're grappling with the fact that Hilda can't fix everything.
Yeah, and then also, Hilda, there was also very visually stunning, like, watching Hilda choose, like, and that kind of also this loss of innocence, and they kind of also focus, too, on, Hilda's 13, and she is, she chooses to go into this very dark, decaying place.
I was going to ask earlier, is Hilda the Avatar? The bridge between the fairy world and...
in a literal way, yes. I mean, really, it's Joanna.
Yeah, I think Joanna's more the original, yeah.
No, I love how immediately Hilda's like, I'm a fairy, and they're like, you're part fairy, and Hilda's like, I'm a fairy, so 10 out of 10.
Hilda draws herself with like wings and stuff, and we see her and Joanna fly for a hot second in the finale.
Like a hot second, like the shortest hot second.
But that's really it. So are there any ramifications for it?
Oh, there's definitely not ramifications. I mean, they could maybe learn to fly, but I don't know.
Can they learn magic?
That's another good question. It seems to be different than like witch magic, because that's what they were like. You can't. It doesn't mix.
I think my biggest takeaway is just like it kind of explains the connection Hilda has with so many creatures and stuff.
Yes.
But that leaves the room
and
for a lot
of... And most importantly, why her hair is blue.
Apparently. Do your grandparents have...
Her granddad. Also, Tanya
wants
to...
Blue hair,
this is an important statement that her grandfather looks like Rick, and she's right.
So, because of the blue hair?
Yep, and it's like spiky.
Unfortunately, we'll clarify that's Rick from Rick and Morty we're talking about here.
Yes, he looks like Rick. And Tanya was like, he looks like Rick. And I was like, why did you say that? Why?
Getting back to the question of the original stories, like the season of original stories, I would say like the main difference was that they could have this connected thread of the fairy mystery. They
Yeah.
started in the beginning with Tophaton, they come back, and we have the looming shadow figures, and that carries throughout the entire season, whereas previously you can only kind of have if you're adapting the books, you can kind of only have something looming for a few episodes. Although I think they attempted more of a season long thing in season 2, but I can't quite remember. It feels like more of an interconnected whole unit, I would say.
Yes, yeah, it's not as so much as like a collection of stories. Like there's a thread through all of them.
Yes, and I think that worked, and I think it was good. I think that it was not as beneficial to the show as I might have anticipated. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just like what Hilda was before was great. So it's like just doing what was great in a different way, not necessarily improving. I think that was ultimately what I took away from it.
Yeah, like I don't think this season like necessarily like boosts Hilda or anything. It's a great season though, but I don't think it's. I don't know.
Yeah, so season 2 had the 50-year night, I think, or is it with the time? Yeah, that way, the time travel episode. And I'm pretty sure that was an original story. So I was like, wow, are we going to have like epic episodes like the big time travel episode? And I don't think the season went that route. I think it was.
Everything felt really tame, honestly.
Yes. Which, haha. Not a lot of witch stuff this season. That's another thing.
No.
But, which is fine because Hilda's like this comfy show. But to me, the episodes and we can talk about this now, maybe it should have been more epic because the episodes that I liked the most, I think, were the largest scale ones of the season, or at least in certain aspects. One of my favorite episodes this season was the Giant Slayer, episode 3.
Yes. Well, I think that is part of, I think, this focus to switch to Hilda's family is more of, more insular versus we have to save the town every week from a problem.
Yeah, they probably go hand in hand, the smaller scale and the choosing to focus on the family as the through line. Which I think is appropriate. I think the smaller scale is appropriate to tell these more intimate stories, and it works for the show as a whole. Again, that being said, I just felt like going back in time, seeing all the giants. Yeah, that was so amazing for me.
I'm really sad they burned the tree in SMH.
Yeah, I guess because it's the last season, so we can't go back anyway. But
also to tempt Hilda to go and mess with more stuff.
Yeah, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, I feel like the Midnight Giant in season 1, it's episode 2, but that was the moment when I was like, wow, Hilda is special. Like, I love that episode. I love the giant story. And so I was so happy to come back and to see the Giant Slayer as a companion piece to it and see the origins of the giant, not necessarily the origins, but seeing them in an earlier time when they were thriving. And that story, I thought it was really successful, effective, and everything, and seeing how they relate to humans. I really loved all of it. And then also seeing Halvor the Giant Slayer.
LOL.
Who's a kid.
So fun.
Yeah, I also really liked him, I think. Well, yeah, I think that was great. You want to ship Halvor and Hilda?
Absolutely.
That could have been fun. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Wasn't he fine by the end? He was like good.
He was
right?
fine at the end, but that doesn't mean
that it makes up for the past crimes against giants. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as me?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I don't think I liked it as much as you did. I did like it, and I like the Giants. I do think it's
Woodman as well.
And we always love Woodman. Woodman's great. I love that he was
like his one episode this season.
I love him. All he cared about was his hammer. He's so funny. For me, I think it was more. It's just sad. Like, the Giants were going to leave anyway, and I think that's just something. Like,
it is an interesting ending. Yeah,
we're never going to get more about the Giants.
Yeah, and I guess I was satisfied seeing them in this epic story again, but it's not a season of satisfying conclusions, except for I guess Hilda's a fairy. Hilda's character arc is kind of like a yeah, but it's not necessarily a show full of like fanfare, like fan
No,
service-y
no.
conclusions. Yeah.
This season was very much like Hilda, wanting a family and feeling like she doesn't have one.
Yeah. Do you want to talk more about the family stuff, or you want to go into other favorite episodes? Tell me. Well, we can talk about it through the episodes. Tell me an episode you love that we haven't talked about.
Okay, now I have to look at them. When you watch them all at once, it gets a little.
Yes.
Well, I just really like the first episode anyway, because I was like, Aunt Astrid's cool.
Yeah. What do you think of Auntie Astrid?
She's
great Aunt Astrid.
She's awesome.
And she's a fairy.
And she's a fairy. It was I liked it. It's good stuff.
She's really fun the whole season.
Yes. Her and the Puka, so funny.
I love the Puka. Do you like the Puka?
Yes, I love the Puka. The Puka is so funny. Like, he's also like such a disaster.
I think you're the Puka.
Yeah, probably. I don't think it was necessarily the strongest episode, but I was excited to see them do Sparrow Scout stuff.
Yeah, that was episode 4 with Louise. I really like Louise.
Louise is great.
I love the notion that they're the freaky friends, like the perception of the
like something horrible is going to happen.
I thought that was really funny and really earns.
Yes, absolutely.
Eugene, the merman.
Like, bro, what is your problem?
See, this episode, I feel like, is the type of, it's the story structure which I would not typically like. It's like, oh, we're trapped, we have to like trick him or perform or something, like it feels like I've seen this like general structure in other shows, but I thought it was actually really good. Like, it's like Hilda can't, even with the structure, which I'm not gonna pretend, like Hilda has great episodes. It was really fun.
Visually, it was like an incredible episode.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like also, them whispering on the raft. Like, y'all, she can hear you the whole time.
Yeah, that was funny.
I can't remember his name, their name. He just reminded me of
who?
The character from She-Ra, the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Like, it was intense.
Eugene reminds you of them? Interesting.
Yes. I did enjoy Eugene's design. Like, Eugene's like you annoying little merman.
Yeah.
Also, he just wants to perform. Like, what?
Double Trouble.
Double Trouble. Why couldn't I remember that?
Yeah, look, we got that right away. Power of editing. We totally remember.
Magic.
Immediately. Yeah, that's huge. It's interesting comparison.
Just what he reminded me of them.
My other favorite episode was episode 6 with the monster that we've referenced. That
was also going to be my next favorite episode.
Nice. I feel like it's
a very Avatar episode. Like, it felt like a very Avatar monster.
The Forgotten Lake. See, so I don't think we get the monster's name. They call the monster Frog Spider Monster at some point.
And Hilda is like, they don't like labels.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Which is great. Yeah, that was like Tanya's favorite moment. She's like, this is so good.
I did love that.
And then also, he's after he tries to eat them, he's like, you want to be friends? Like, go away.
Yeah,
I'm so mad at you right now. Like, me and Tanya were stressed during that episode.
It was probably the scariest episode of Hilda, right?
Yeah, it was terrifying. Like, one, spiders are scary anyway. And then he had a really long split tongue. Horrible. And then also, I'm like, did you not learn from your aunt's charms not to pick up things that look like charms?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I was like, what are you doing? Quit it.
Yeah, the Forgotten Lake, if I didn't say it. And the monster design, it reminds me of a little bit of something from Amphibia. Okay. But then I
felt very Ko to me.
Ko? See, I agree with Ko. I was going to say that I feel like one big reason this was so successful, this monster, is just the design and the sound design of
scary.
It was incredible. All the production design with the monster. And I was going to compare it to the lion turtle in the finale of Avatar. It's like not great sound design on there, at least in terms of it wasn't clear enough. The exact opposite here. Perfect resonant voice with this monster.
He is Ko. Like, I think that's also why I had this visceral fear reaction to him, is because he immediately I was like, it's Ko.
Yeah, I could see that. That's very interesting.
I was like, I'm scared.
I don't know. I think this is one of the best episodes of Hilda.
Also,
Just
it's a really good like Joanna episode.
amazing Joanna episode. Joanna's like trying to prove that she can be
I'm
fun too.
fun.
Yeah.
Also, I was like, go to the campsite. Your mom paid money for that. Y'all don't have a lot of money. I'm driving this car. Can you please?
You were like, go to the campsite? Wow, you really
Yes.
are old now.
I was, look, they're stressing me out. I was like, don't do it. I'm like, no, bad things gonna happen.
I would not camp at the random place, though. That's true. But this is Hilda World. Hilda's
I know this
like
is
makes
Hilda
friends with all the magical creatures.
I would
It'll be
say,
fine.
you know, when they're like, what world would you want to live in? Like, I would live in Hilda World. Hilda World seems fine. Like, I would live there.
It is dangerous. The trolls are also scary. I said this was the scariest episode, but then we learn that they're not scary. They're just you know.
This spider frog thing he's scary.
You still want to live in the Hilda World after this?
I wouldn't go camping, but yes.
But you're not going camping anyway.
I mean, being a Sparrow Scout seems really cool. I don't know. I'm not outdoorsy.
We could, be Sparrow Scout.
Do they have Xbox? I don't know.
No. Do they? Wait,
Why
okay.
not?
Hilda's modern, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to get into this. I'm pretty sure.
They don't have cell phones.
Do they watch TV?
Do they watch TV?
They
They got radios.
They have radios.
Unsure.
Okay, well, this is the type of we don't need to get into.
I think they have a TV.
It feels like they have a TV. Yeah, I think they probably watch TV this season. Where's Hilda's cell phone?
A lot of problems would have been solved if Hilda had a cell phone.
That's every television show.
Well, I'm still not over.
Right?
Yeah, literally. Also, when they were like, she was like, "I'm going into Fairyland," and they had walkie-talkies. Tanya was like, you really think that's gonna work?" It's such child logic. It's great.
They had walkie-talkie. Yeah, it feels very like not modern technology, even though it's probably there in the background. I just love this monster and the Hilda and Joanna like taking charge and doing
her
all
mini
this adventure stuff. It was really good. And then I think the Fairy Isle, the finale, I do really like it. I mean, we've criticized it a little bit, but I think it's really good.
No, it's still really good. And, we need all of that. And also, it just explains a lot about Joanna.
Yeah. My favorite moment, I think, of the Fairy Isle was Hilda goes in deeper into the fairy country and meets who I thought was obviously child Joanna. But
yes,
I loved them, like, going through fairy country together.
Oh, it was great.
That was awesome.
Who doesn't love when like the adult character becomes a child? Like, it's classic.
Yeah, how many times does that happen?
All right, we have Cora.
How many times like mom has become a child?
Good question.
It feels like it's happened before.
It does.
We'll think of it. But yeah, I mean, all the stuff in the fairy country was magical, and then to the story of Finium and Lydia.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved the backstory with them.
It was so like I was just like, wow, how cliche of you.
To what? Fall in love with a human?
Yep.
Yeah, classic.
Astrid really got the rough end of the stick here.
She really did, and she had to like take on their responsibility like constantly.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all kind of suck.
It wasn't like intentional, I guess, from them, but
no.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing, I mean, I understand, Joanna was sick, like she was gonna die, but like, which I think that doesn't really sink in until they leave, and then she straight up dies, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's, but yeah, Astrid has to deal with it.
I mean, she had to raise Joanna.
Yeah, it's. What do you think of Astrid in this story?
I mean, I like it. I think I think Astrid is kind of like this very much unsung hero of this season.
Yeah, I think definitely between the
history. She really had to do she had to do a lot. I mean, she kind of had to give up her whole life.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Her brother made.
Yeah.
And obviously she loves Hilda and Joanna, but it's like, Did she want to leave Fairy Island?
I guess it feels realistic, honestly. Kind of the same thing with what we've been saying. It's like there's not these like big magical resolution. Like, yeah, this is kind of what happens sometimes. You have to take on the responsibility of your family and have your life affected. Very down to earth, I guess.
Yeah.
Situations in the finale and throughout the season.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And they were like, take us instead so that Joanna can stay here.
Yeah. Also the Deer Fox coming back in the finale is the other highlight.
Okay, yes, that was great. Love Deer Foxes. Oh, me and Tanya were so mad. We're like, stop yelling at him.
At Twig, and then Twig opens the portal, and we get to see all the Deer Fox come back.
It was great.
And there's like a short time when they're like at war with the fairies.
And they're like messing them up.
The mushrooms, the aliens.
Yeah, they're creepy. I don't like them.
I guess we don't really get an explanation for them. I interpreted them as like the eyes of the island.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
But yeah, really not a lot of specifics, but they were very creepy.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to shout out Tanya. So in the beginning, very early in the season, you'll see, I think it's the first episode, you see Hilda and her mom, and they're standing in a fairy circle. Which is like, if you're not familiar with what a fairy circle is, it's like, generally it's a ring of mushrooms. It could be a ring of flowers. But like, they have a very distinct shape. And Tanya was like, they're in a fairy circle. And then immediately they were like fairies. And Tanya was like, I told you.
Wow. I would have never known that.
Tanya was on it.
The witchy knowledge coming in handy.
Yes.
Whatever you want to call that.
This is what happens when your mom's from Eastern Kentucky.
Apparently.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone knows what that means, but yeah.
Yep. In another life, her mom is like a witch doctor.
Witch doctor, lol. Nice. Let's talk about Anders. We put that off.
Anders.
I did like episode 5. We meet Anders, and I like the polecat. I think he's funny.
He's so dumb. Like he's like, yeah, I'm like, really? You're going to do a job for the polecat? I don't think you should work for someone who calls themselves the polecat. Very
British thing. Very, most British element of this British show feels like.
Polecat that's something we say in Kentucky.
Yeah, what does it mean?
A polecat, I always get it mixed up between if it's a raccoon or a skunk.
Okay, but it's one of those?
Yes.
Do they say that in England?
I would assume so. Yeah, it's a skunk. A skunk is called a polecat.
Okay.
And it's because like when they came to America, they didn't know what a skunk was. Because polecats are an actual animal. But in America, we don't have them.
Okay.
And so like in the South, we call skunks polecats.
Interesting.
Yep.
Nice Kentucky lore.
There you go, Kentucky lore.
What do you? So I mean, you've alluded to not loving Anders.
He doesn't really add anything to the story. I will say, he's worth it in the dialogue when they're in the restaurant, and both Frida and David are like, "I thought you were dead." So funny.
Yeah, that was a good. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're the audience.
Literally, so Tanya, like, I have to pause, and Tanya's like, I thought he was dead, and then I hit play, and David's like, I thought you were dead. My wife is literally David. Also, David got taller, and his voice is deeper. It's wild.
Yeah, what do you think of
That's all
David?
he did this season was get taller and his voice dropped, but it's great.
That is all he did. What do you think of his deeper voice?
It was a little weird at first, but it's fine.
I guess that happens in these shows.
It does happen. It's just really funny. I was like, oh my God, David. Like, I was like, Danny and I weren't ready. Like, we were like, oh, hello.
Only, not Hilda's voice, though, doesn't change.
No.
Yeah, despite Bella Ramsey clearly being older. But
that was David, the other thing, was being shook. I'm like, I didn't know Bella Ramsey was Hilda. Like, I didn't know.
You didn't know Bella Ramsey was
I didn't
Hilda.
know who she was until after Game of Thrones was done. Like,
well, Hilda didn't start airing until after her appearance in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I knew anything.
Yeah, but now everyone knows Bella Ramsey from The Last of Us.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was like. What's the other thing they're in?
Yes. Now Bella Ramsey's famous. I mean, they were famous for like Game of Thrones, like for a hot sec.
Yes, which by the way, their character in Game of Thrones, great, good stuff. 10 out of
Yes,
10.
yes, and then and then Hilda casting, and
Yes.
um, oh yeah, I saw a quote. I didn't read the full interview. Bella Ramsey was like, "I've been Hilda my entire life." I'm like, I remember when you got cast as Hilda. Like, this is so depressing. It's like for how old we are now. Like, oh,
I
I've
know,
been.
we're so old.
Oh God. Yeah, but Bella Ramsey, they do a great job with Hilda for sure.
Great.
But yeah, it is funny that who's David? Oliver Nelson. But yeah, his got the deeper voice. It's a fun move when the in like
It's
the
always
last
fun.
season when the character
Yes.
gets a yeah. I like when they keep it because you could try to make it match with effects and stuff.
Yeah.
But it is fun for David.
Yeah, no,
Anyway, Anders. I think Anders is interesting. It's like obviously Anders is Hilda's version of like the deadbeat dad.
Yes, which is funny. Like I did enjoy this, like in that way. And also he like you can also I mean, they are very similar.
Who? Hilda and yeah, you can see where she gets some stuff.
And he's like, I'm the fun dad, and Joanna's like, I'm gonna beat you with a stick.
Yes.
Also, okay, I'm sorry, but my last interruption is Alfor being like 5-ish, so funny, and he was gonna write up like a visitation table, so funny. I love Alfor.
5-ish.
Yep, he's my favorite.
Oh yeah, Alfor. Yeah, not a lot of Alfor specifics, but he had a lot of.
I love him so much.
Commentary.
He's the best.
Is Alfor your favorite?
Alfor is my favorite character. There's like no doubt. I love him so much. He's like Joanna's little husband.
Honestly.
Like, it's so funny.
Did you want more of an Alfor presence this season?
I was okay with what he did. We also, I mean, season 1 was a lot of Alfor. He's just a funny, like, I really enjoy that Joanna, like, just hangs out with Alfor and Tontu. Like, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It feels like we get the arcs to introduce these people and then they're just there. Then.
And they just live in the house. Like, everyone just lives in their house. It's so funny. And then when she, like, leaves, she's like, you're going to stay here and think about what you did. So funny.
With it, so was there like a little bit of justice for Anders at the end, considering he was abducted and didn't leave?
Yeah, no, there was, because I did feel bad because the whole time you were like, no, that man got abducted.
Yeah, probably.
Like he's getting eaten by the fairies right now.
I can't even remember exactly because they didn't turn out to be evil figures. What happened? But
well, he was gonna the troll was gonna get him.
Oh, they saved him.
And they yanked him out. That's right. They saved him.
Yeah. So he didn't abandon them, and at the end in the epilogue, he's getting his own apartment. Maybe he's finally taking some responsibility, wants to be in Hilda's life, right? Like, I like that it is a very realistic portrayal of like a parent who's not there, but like with a slightly positive Hilda-esque twinge.
Yes.
But not one that's like unrealistic. Like it's still clear how much he sucks.
Yes.
But it's also like, okay, he sucks, and he should be a better father, but that doesn't make him an invalid person or anything. And it doesn't mean he can't do better.
Right.
So I love, my favorite moment was when Joanna's explaining to Hilda, like after like she thinks he left, he's like, he just gets really overwhelmed and this is how he reacts to things.
Yeah.
Which is like, honestly, like, I think relatable for a lot of people. Like not relatable that you'd abandon your family because it's to an extent because of that, but it's like a very grounded, real perspective on that Joanna has.
And Joanna's not like bad mouthing Anders, like
no, yeah, she's like exasperated with the behavior in front of him, but she's not bad mouthing him to Hilda.
No,
and she's being very realistic with what she thinks about him and his reactions to things.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this was coming with like Hilda's dad or anything, and it's interesting. But I did love Hilda's take on, the parent who hasn't taken responsibility, and I think maybe just overall just another great example of a really nuanced perspective on like a nuanced person or like a character, like a morally gray person to some extent. Like I think Hilda does a great job with these figures. Like
I do think he's just very much like out for himself, but not necessarily like in a selfish way, just in the like Honestly, I mean, Hilda could be very similar to him if she wasn't kind of grounded by her mom and her friends.
And would Hilda really be great mother or family member? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's a child right now, so
Yeah.
there's time to figure that out. But you do see a lot of Hilda and Anders, conversely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not like I like love him or anything, but I do think he's like really really interesting portrayal by the show.
Yeah.
And also another added context to Joanna and their life. And it all really did feel like it came together with giving us the bigger, broader perspective on their history before we come into Hilda.
Yeah.
And I think seeing Anders was a pretty important part of that. I don't know, any other Anders
Like, I don't hate
moments. Yeah.
It's fine.
He's fine. It's nice we get a hopeful ending with him, I think.
He is not winning Dad of the Year, though. Oh my god.
No. But he's
not,
also,
like,
conversely, not the worst father we've seen in any shows. Not even top 10 worst fathers.
I mean, we have Fire Lord Ozai. Like, he's not even in there. It's okay.
But he's also not Kipo's dad, speaking of. So.
I mean, hello. Or Tom from Ladybug.
Yes. We do have a lot of great dads as well.
We have some great dads.
Yeah.
Joanna is,
Is Joanna number one mom after the season?
It's tough. She is a really great mom. I'd say it's Joanna and Sabine. Head to head.
From Ladybug. The best moms bracket. I do think Joanna could be the best character mom.
Yes.
It's such a good season for her, speaking of. Yeah, there's just I do think we've said this about season 2 as well. I vaguely remember.
Joanna is a great mom. Great mom. 10 out of 10 mom.
And it's great how she goes from being mum in season 1. I feel like we barely knew her name to the most nuanced character outside of Hilda, and even you could argue overall.
Yes, it's really great. You just don't get that a lot
with the parents in these shows, yeah, and especially with mom.
Yes.
What do we think of the fact that she lost all her memories of?
Messed up. That's rough, buddy.
That is rough, buddy.
Very classic magic. You can't be doing that to people. Astrid, that was messed up of you.
That's rough. I guess we had to do it.
It's impressive. Joanna's kind of a well-adjusted person, considering.
It is impressive.
Jeez.
You're half magical
Everybody
creature.
needs to go to therapy. We all go to therapy together.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
I almost said alpha therapist, but I don't know about that.
He probably knows a good one.
Elf therapist
Obviously,
would probably be good. Yeah, I would probably. What are other great Joanna moments this season?
Well, I thought it was funny when she called David's mom.
Yeah, that's
good. Oh, give me the phone to your mom. I need to borrow the car.
Oh yeah, her in the car.
Oh my god, the car was causing me so much stress.
Hilda's I love the car. It's unpredictable.
That is not what we like in cars. Yeah.
Not typically what people like in cars. That was really funny. The car.
Also, just that classic horror movie, the monster's coming and you're trying to start the car, and I'm I'm gonna cry, and I was like, run him over.
I'm glad we do get it started, all right? I think.
Stress.
I think in episode 2, I think there's stuff with her and Astrid talking about the past encounter, and it all just feels weird though, considering it's all kind of overwritten by the finale almost.
Yes. Well, they're all very hush hush.
Yeah.
And it's just it's weird.
But yeah, I guess Astrid being a main character this season is also a big component of Joanna's characterization, and her seeing the full context of her and her childhood and everything. What do you think of Toffatin in general?
I think it's cool. It's a cool place.
Would you live in Toffatin with the fairies and all?
No.
Just
I think Frohlberg seems pretty okay. Yeah, and I'm not trying to get snatched.
It seems cool in there, though. You get to live as a fairy for all time.
How does that work? Do you become a fairy? Like, how does that work?
I guess they snatched people and then they became fairies. They must.
I guess that seems what it was implied.
Yeah. Look,
No, I'm good.
I'm
I'm
not
cool
saying
this thing.
I'm not saying sign me up, but if I happen to get snatched, I
Wow.
don't know. Seem like it'd be cool to be a fairy.
I don't know. No,
I guess the downside is it kind of implied you lost your like all sense of outer context and
Yes.
time, and
Yep.
yeah, I guess that's not cool, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which I think that was something interesting. I think Hilda talked about, like, nothing changes here.
Yeah, that was an interesting theme for sure. Yeah,
And also, like, you're just seeing what the island wants you to see. Like, nothing's real.
because I feel like there's a lot of angst about change in this show.
Yes.
I think the show's you could argue this is one of the main themes of Hilda, is dealing with change and changing times, and a lot of it's negative. It's like,
well,
a
I
lot
mean,
of
the
changes
first
are negative.
season, Hilda moves. She's not happy about it.
Yeah. I think we're stumbling upon. Not really stumbling. The show kind of overtly said in the finale, but
the show is literally like, y'all are not smart. We're gonna.
but it's like, I find it interesting that a lot of this change is hard for Hilda, and it's probably because we're seeing the show from the perspective of a child or child becoming a young adult and dealing with change in her life and everything. But ultimately, Hilda says, change is necessary in the end, and the passage of time and things really changing, and that gives makes life what it is.
I mean, and also if you want to compare like Hilda now to the beginning, Hilda would have stayed. She didn't have any friends. She would have just stayed with her mom. But now, she has friends. She has a whole life in Trollberg.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hilda has grown, and she made the result of that decision in the finale.
Oh my god, when she's walking away thinking her mom's not going to come with her, sad, cries, tears. Tears. That's okay. Joanna's the best mom ever. So you do feel bad for Joanna, though. Like, it's like losing your parents again.
Yeah.
Really, it's like a third time. So she had to like relive it, and then like that's rough.
It's sad. It's nice that we get to see them watching at the end and their figures being there, and then in that blog you see the shadowy figures, but it's them. And they're nice now.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. What other stuff from that blog? Let's go through some of the Puka.
The Puka's so funny.
Gets the.
He was wearing a suit for no reason. I don't know what that was about.
Oh.
And then he returned the items, which was nice.
Yeah. But then gets the mallet and the pineapple.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I will say it's really funny. He would get mad when they'd recognize him.
Yeah, that is
so funny. And then when he was the nasty little baby waff.
Oh yeah, on the wall. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we see the woodmen, the elves from season 1, I think. Trolls again. We see the trolls family Hilda had. So what do we think of not being much trolls as a fob? So Hilda gets asked a few times, like, what was it like being a troll? But
yeah, I think I was a little sad. I think we could have had like a little episode with them, or like we could have like hung out with them for like 2 minutes.
It is very noticeable what the season does not have. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit already, but it's like, it almost feels like this season's like, we're doing these things and other things, we did those already and they're done.
Yeah, which I think that's fine. I mean, we had a whole episode with the Nissa, which was nice.
We get another Nissa episode. We don't get Frida, just who we've barely said her name, just does not do any magic until the finale, right? Basically.
She does a little bit of magic before the finale, I think.
Like once, but it's like barely referenced that she's even a witch.
Yeah. No, and then she does super magic.
Kaisa's like literally not in there until that blog.
Yeah. Well, they went and talked to her, and Kaisa was like, I can't help you.
Oh, like once, yeah.
Yeah.
So witch stuff, gone. Trolls, basically gone.
We had one Sparrow Scout episode.
Once, yeah. The troll guard, what was his name from the movie?
Oh, I hate that man.
He's gone.
He retired in the movie, so that's why he's not there.
And his replacement, what's her name? She's there in that blog.
I don't remember.
Greta? Yeah. I don't know. But she's basically gone, but she's present in the finale. What else are we lacking? Did I write some of this stuff down? I mean, elves, like, really not a lot about elves.
No, we do. We see them in Halvor like burns somebody's house down.
Yeah, they're just kind of there sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, and Anders is like, "Oh, is this your imaginary friend?" And Alfor gets mad. He's like, "Excuse you." Alfor does not like Anders. So funny.
Gerda, by the way, and
Yeah, that's why
Eric.
I thought it was
No
like,
Eric.
no, well, I'm fine. I hate him, so he doesn't need to be here. It's fine.
I thought he was a great villain.
Oh, he's a good villain, but I hate him. No, when Joanna has to like, when she like teams up with him, I'm like, what are you doing? Not him. No.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like we could have done. I don't know. I'm okay with, like, if we're not getting into things, we don't need to force it in. And it's like we kind of did it sufficiently already. I would have liked to have seen more witch stuff. I do think I will say it comes at potentially at the expense of Frida and David as characters this season.
David, they really don't. I do think, I mean, I don't think they were like lacking. Like Frida had an episode. David doesn't really get to do anything, but David never does anything. So
yeah, Frida had episode 7 with the Nissa.
Yes,
which I do think is like maybe the least successful episode, just because it's trying to do Nissa plotline and also set up for the finale at the same time.
Yeah. And then
it's still nice to see the stuff in there though, Frida and Nissa.
I mean, David does like save Hilda.
Yeah, David's he's solid in the background kind of the whole time.
Him and his stupid headphones.
By the way, did you like the train Nissa?
Yes, like obviously. I was like me. Tanya was like,
I thought that was you.
Yeah, it was me. I love trains. What's train food? I don't know.
Bad sandwiches or something?
Probably. No, I was like, it's me. I'm the train Nissa.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. Everyone knew it was me.
That is you.
There's like 5 hats.
You would.
Yep.
Yes. I feel like
also, I forgot they were all Tontu. That was funny.
I've also forgot that. I definitely forgot that too. I think it's okay to not have some of the plot elements, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more from Frida and David.
Yeah.
It's just weird going from the witch thing feeling like a big thing into nothing.
Well, it's like even in the movie, like David, it was, his mom, but David still didn't really like, I don't know.
Justice for David is what we're saying.
Justice for David.
Wow. Yep. Well, anything else from that I had written down that I had notable? I don't think so.
Also, poor David's traumatized from getting snatched. Like when he went up that hill, I was like, he's gone. Bye, David.
Yeah, he is. Oh, I was going through that blog. That's right. But we talked about I think everything here. Hilda's the drawing of Hilda with fairy wings. So do we think Hilda's ever getting wings or anything?
I don't know. Like I have no idea. She's only a quarter fairy. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not enough fairy if Joanna doesn't have wings.
I want Joanna to do cool magic. I do like that. I do like that kind of explains why Joanna, like why they lived in the middle of the woods and how she wants to like just go and like it's because she's literally part fairy.
Yeah, it at least sets up why they were there in the context for that location. I did really like all that.
And like she subconsciously remembered what their house looked like.
Yeah, this is why I like it as like a finale. Is it feels full circle and giving the full context.
I like that a lot.
Where they were at the beginning.
It really does. As much as we lacked some more of like, the creatures we wanted, and we could have used more witch stuff. Everything does get kind of tied neatly in a bow, and maybe they can come back and do more Hilda. Maybe we'll just have to read more graphic novels. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there'll be more of those in the future.
Maybe they can do another movie. I mean, to have 3 seasons and a movie, like that's pretty great.
Yeah, for what must be an expensive show, considering how just
it's beautiful. It's so pretty.
Just nothing on Netflix gets even 3 seasons anymore.
No,
so we're blessed for what we got, and it seems like this is what they wanted. Like,
yes, it kind of feels like with Kipo. Like Kipo was only ever going to be 3 seasons.
Yeah, like they adapted all of the material they had, and they got an original season. It felt like what they were looking for, and at the end, Hilda is happy with everyone. I was going to end by us talking about the legacy of Hilda, which we're kind of already talking about.
Okay.
What of like I was gonna say, what elements of Hilda are like the most iconic looking back? Like we talked about some we didn't see as much this season. What are we gonna remember most from Hilda?
I mean, I definitely think Hilda is going to have this legacy similar to Steven Universe, like this kindness, this compassion, like, to care, like the trolls, kind of this, like what we're doing is wrong, or like you need to look at this in more than one way. Like this isn't like, like very kind of How to Train Your Dragon, like be kind to creatures that you don't understand.
Yeah, I feel like the theme I'll remember.
Not everything's out to you.
Yeah, I think that the troll movie and the troll themes is the at least thematically most memorable. I also just think that in terms of creatures, I think the trolls are one of the most iconic creatures of Hilda.
And the deer fox.
The deer fox. We'll remember that. I think in the past I called the trolls the Daleks of Hilda.
Yes, they're definitely the Daleks of Hilda, except Daleks cannot be redeemed.
Which shows the different perspectives those shows have.
Yes.
But that's kind of maybe why it feels wrong to not have a Trolls episode this season. It's like, you need a Dalek episode in a season.
It's true. It's true.
But yeah, just the theme from the movie, it's so striking. We're talking about some other amazing themes also, like change, the passage of time, and stuff like that, which I think will also be really good.
And even also, like with a character like Hilda, it's important, she cares so much about the nature and other creatures, but it's also important to, care about other people, and then to have this, this connection with Frida and David.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of her arc in earlier seasons as well.
She was kind of a butthead.
Yeah, we forget that about Hilda. I think so.
Like, she's grown a lot. And we kind of get that in episode 7. Like, she doesn't really apologize for messing up. Like, for being a total, like, butthead to Frida.
Interesting. Yeah.
But they make up.
Elves. I think it's a big one. I think giants for me, iconic. Wafts. So many great iconic creatures. Wafts. We do finally get a little bit more with wafts, but
the nasty baby wolf.
It's cute.
It has no skin, no fur. It's nasty.
So you don't like hairless cats?
Okay, so I think I don't know if I could have a hairless cat. I'm like fascinated by them. They look like little chickens. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. I think overall with Hilda, it just feels like, are we going to get a show like Hilda ever again? Depressingly, but it's just
depressing.
It's just so special. It is so beautifully crafted 2D animation. It feels like such a unicorn in the history of recent animation.
And something that's like so easy to watch.
I think Hilda stands out amongst a lot of the great shows that we have covered on this podcast. I mean, I think it's like hard to say like it's as clearly as amazing as like a Steven Universe or something, but I think you could put it up there just because it's
I think it's
so amazing in the kind of ways that it is,
I think so. I mean, my thing is like, when we compare it to Steven Universe, I don't know, like Hilda, sometimes you need shows that are a little bit less in your face.
Mm-hmm.
And I think shows like Hilda that teach compassion are really important. And we really gravitate towards those kinds of shows. And I think that's really like ultimately what's so great about Hilda is it's very like, you can sit and watch it. It's very comfortable. And and you're still getting, this compassion message. I mean, Steven Universe turns a lot of people off. Also, the first 20 episodes of Steven Universe are not great.
It's just a little slower. But even compared to more plot heavy shows, kind of what I mean. I feel like Hilda stands above a lot of these like very good, but sometimes, maybe more inconsistent shows that we think have their ups and downs.
Hilda is very consistent.
It's just consistently, so beautiful and so enjoyably watchable, like watchable in like a good way. It's just so nice.
It's like eating a warm cookie.
Yes. Do they? I don't know. Do we have cookies in the show? What's an iconic Hilda food item?
The jorts.
The jorts, yeah, because that's what they're always eating when they have to. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I think like really when you're talking about kind of the best animated shows of whatever time period, I think Hilda's up there.
Yeah, no, I would definitely like. I mean, Hilda really is, again, it's following in this. Hilda is very Avatar inspired. And it's like, when you, like, it's hard to, like, I think Hilda takes kind of the magic, like, some of the, like, the creatures from Avatar and really, like, expands.
Interesting. Yeah. But we talk about something like Kipo, and it's just, like, such a great story. And I think Hilda, you could argue just as good, but just in different ways,
Yes, definitely. And you don't necessarily have to be like a super plot heavy show to like make an impact.
Yeah, I think.
And
so.
Even just visually, Hilda's a stunning show, and it does.
I think maybe the best visual show, visually the best show that we've ever covered, that we've ever talked about on the podcast. I think it might be the most gorgeous. There's a lot of good ones,
pretty.
But
It's hard sometimes.
I think it would be my pick for most visually stunning show. And it doesn't even have to be like stunning to be like great. It's just so beautifully animated constantly.
Yes. Which I think also just really speaks to the art of the graphic novels.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, one of the best adaptations,
yes.
Accordingly, considering how good it is.
And of course, I mean, I haven't read any of the Hilda graphic novels, but it's hard to imagine that they're not good considering the adaptation is so good.
Yeah, definitely. What are some of your favorite episodes looking back that we haven't talked about?
It's tough. I mean, this season really is. It's all really good.
I'm going through season 1, The Midnight Giant, I mentioned. What were my other favorites from season? I like the Tide Mice a lot. The Storm.
Oh, I forgot about the Tide Mice. Oh God, that was.
They have a cameo as well. I mean, my favorites from season 2 were definitely, as mentioned, the 50-year night, and then the Deer Fox, the Twigs family and everything. I think the Deer Fox might be my pick for best Hilda episode.
It's really good.
That's probably what I would rewatch first.
I mean, it's really hard. I really enjoy Alfor. So when we meet Alfor in the first episode, it's so good.
Yeah, I miss I want to go back and watch the beginning of season 1, and it makes me miss the elves time. Yeah. That time at their cabin or whatever. The different Hilda as a character, and I do think this season's Forgotten Lake, Fairy Isle, I would say Giant Slayer. You could make a solid 10 episodes of Hilda that are as good as any 10 episodes of any show, I would say.
We got to see the Rat King.
Yes.
So that's another episode that's fun.
And the movie, I think the Deer Fox and the Hilda movie, probably my picks.
The movie is so good.
It's so good. The Witch. I'm just looking at all these past amazing episodes.
Also, the Jorts incident. Great episode.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Definitely will want to do a full Hilda rewatch. Be a fun. And I think it's just going to be a very fun one to go back and watch through in a weekend or something.
Yes. It's just, and it's very much a show you could just have on.
Yeah. I'll want to focus on it, though.
Yes. I just meant like it's a very comfy show.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else about Legacy? Anything we haven't talked about from the season, Delaney?
I feel like we've covered it. I just, the show had, the magical creatures are fun. I do think probably the biggest legacy would be like the creatures and the trolls, and then honestly, Joanna. Yeah, I think she really stands out looking back. Yes. Hilda's great. There's a lot of great main characters. Yes, it's kind of hard. I think Hilda makes your first all team supporting character list, maybe. Yes. But looking back, she's stands out as one of the top 10 of any of these shows, I feel like.
And Hilda probably does too, but there's a lot of competition, for main characters.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you have to fight. Oh, wait. You know that really horrible fan art where it's like...
Don't know. Come on. Yeah, I know what you mean.
What are we going to do now? Hilda's over.
Was Hilda victorious in that bad fan art, or was
Yeah, it's because it's Hilda dropping them all off the cliff.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean I think ultimately it was prescient because it's the best show. Look,
it is.
Hilda won. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Hilda's amazing, beautiful. I'm always gonna remember visually, aesthetic, like thematically. I mean, like aesthetically, I guess what I'm trying to say, like the feeling of it.
The aesthetic, like it's very. Yeah. I love it. It's great.
I'm always remember that, and it's a great show. And I think there's a lot of great shows, but I think Hilda stands out amongst how it is great compared to other shows. Visuals, aesthetics, creatures.
Yes.
The feeling you get watching it. I think it's all. I think I'll always remember Hilda. Sounds very sappy and final.
Special.
It is a really special show, and it felt like that the entire time.
Yes.
Honestly, from season 1, and I think this was a fittingly special final season.
Like I'll have to say, we cover shows, and we've been doing this for a long time. And sometimes it's hard to make me like want to sit down and watch something, but it's not like that with Hilda. Like I enjoy and granted, when I start something, I'll enjoy watching it. But no, it was just great to watch Hilda, and it does really make me want to go back and restart it, and maybe I will.
I might at some point soon. Oh, and last thing, the opening credits, amazing.
Yes.
They updated them for the season.
Netflix is like skip, and I'm like, no.
And it's the perfect length for not skipping. Amazing song, but just visually incredible.
Yeah,
I think the combination, like we did a theme song whole podcast, and that's kind of a separate thing, just the song. But the combination in like anime terms, the visuals plus the song, I think it's the best.
It's really great.
Animation, number 1.
It's pretty good.
Perfect for this. Beautiful show. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're like, and I'm like, no, I'm not skipping it. No,
not skipping.
No.
Yes. But there we go. That is Hilda season 3. When will we get the
I want more.
Hilda future?
Ooh.
The Fairy Chronicles.
The Fairy Chronicles, yes.
Hilda gets wings.
She can do magic. Her and Frida are like magic fighting. Like for fun, not in like a mean way.
That'd be fun. I feel like
and David's like, I wish I had magic.
That would be good. Hilda's like this show kept it very grounded, but if we did like a spin-off thing, you could like let Hilda wings, magic, like you don't need to keep the groundedness. It can be a separate thing. Just go all out,
if we had a Frida spin-off, I would watch it so hard.
I think Frida spin-off would
be okay, we were kind of dogging David. David did take care of Frida.
When
she was like dying from like she'd used all her magic and she was sick.
Yeah. No, David's great. David can be in the Frida spinoff.
David's great. I love David. No, David can have a spinoff. I don't care. It's just here we go. David just has like his lo-fi YouTube series where he's just like walking around. I think that'd be fun. So
David can have a YouTube channel.
Yes, he has his headphones and he just wanders around and things are happening around him. That'd be great.
That'd be pretty good.
He can be the B plot to Frida's spinoff.
Yeah, I think so. It's a supporting character, I think, in the spinoff. I do think Hilda's very popular, so it'd be interesting to see if we ever get anything else from Hilda. If there'll be an appetite for that. Yeah, well, one can dream, but we...
Oh, give us a Hilda art book, unless there is one already, and then I'll buy it.
I mean, isn't that the graphic novels?
I don't know.
Also an art book.
They make art books.
Yes, we could, if they don't have that, do that. Okay, then... Yeah, there you go. So let us know what you thought of our discussion on Hilda Season 3. Anything else that we didn't talk about that you loved about it?
Did you like that it was just the two of us? Or you like, oh my god, why isn't there 3 people? What's wrong with them?
I know. Yeah. The answer is no one else had finished the season. But I think it's yeah. Maybe we should do more 2-person. I think it's more of a natural conversation. You know.
Yeah.
I think I kind of like that.
Let us know what you thought.
Let us know what you thought in the comments, overlyanimated.com, anywhere. If you like this, consider supporting us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Michael. And thanks as always to our patron executive producer, Steve, Michael, and Phoenician.
If you listened to Ladybug, you found out that I broke my leg, and update, I can walk on it.
Yay!
Now I'm getting a little bit better.
But if someone didn't watch Ladybug, then didn't listen to that, then they're just shocked at the end of this podcast by that revelation.
That I broke my leg in it, but it's better now.
Can we fairy magic heal it?
Figgy is trying her best. My cat is purring so hard on my leg. I do wonder, could Frida cure me?
Yeah.
Twig
would cure you. Oh, yeah, and I love Twig, but the deer fox, iconic creatures. The deer fox, Twig is one of my all-time favorite animals.
Twig is so good. Love Twig. No, when everyone kept being mean to him, we were like, stop it.
Twig's the best.
But also, when he was trying to chase after her, I was like, no, don't go in there, Twig.
You're too baby, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, too baby. I was also I'm so deeply traumatized from Infinity Train. I was like, nothing better happened to this deer fox.
Yeah. We don't need the opposite vibes from Infinity
To be
Train,
fair,
honestly.
I did straight up. I was about to cry though when I thought Joanna was dead, but she was. But I mean, she was dead. She was dead for a solid 2 seconds, and then they were like, "JK." That was messed up. They were like, "Joanna's dead. No, she's not. Astrid's dead. No, she's not." Like, wow, guys.
It was a lot. It was a
lot. Which I could see you could make it not feel as heavy, but also I didn't need the show to end like that. So I'm perfectly happy that no one died.
Yeah. I think I'm happy too. I don't think we need that with Hilda, but we went for it almost.
Well, they were like, Joanna's gray. I was like, y'all, this is not good. Stress.
Yes, but that's it, Hilda. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Hilda. Thanks everyone that worked on Hilda. Incredible show.
Yes, loved it. So good.
So amazing. And that's it. Thanks guys for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.